Hello everybody, it's me, Riffraff Hornhelm, and I'm back again with another presentation from the Dwarven Vault, and today we have a monster review. And today's monster that we're going to take a look at is the BYAKHEE, and that comes to us from the original Deities and Demigods, first printing, and is typically used with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, or certainly at the time, what was considered to be first edition rules, or 1E. These are cool creatures, but where do they come from? Well, they come out of the Cthulhu mythos, and they are the servants of Hastur, the unspeakable god. Now, of all the pantheons of different gods and demigods and so forth that are in the book Deities and Demigods, this is the probably the most outrageous. It's eldritch cosmic horror, and Hastur is known as Hastur the Unspeakable. You can have some fun with that in dungeons if you're paying attention to what your players are doing. Just saying. Now, BYAKHEE are obviously a very rare creature. They go about performing the instructions, actions, and whatnot that Hastur instructs them to do, and they are not a very difficult creature to hit in some ways. They have a 9 armor class. They do have 10 hit dice, so they can have up to 80 hit points. And of course, one thing you have to understand about the Cthulhu mythos is that everybody's bad. All the gods are eldritch horror, evil types, and certainly their servants fall into that category as well. Now, these are not small creatures. They stand 20 feet tall, and they have huge bat wings, and but no arms. And they have long human-like legs that they stand on. Now, they can teleport themselves anywhere within the prime material plane. And they can carry people either by picking them up with their legs or putting them on their back. And they are, once again, out there doing what Hastur tells them to do. If he says, go snatch that person, off they go, and that's what they're going to do. They do have a 20% magic resistance, but nothing special after that. And typically, these are creatures, these are summoned creatures. They're either sent by Hastur directly on a mission, but as frequently, a follower of Hastur can actually beseech Hastur, and 1 to 4 of these would show up to do their bidding. They're telepathic, so they don't really need to speak. And, in terms of damage per attack, well, that's a little different. If they actually attack with their legs, which have long talons on them, they do 1 to 10 points of damage each, for each leg. Doesn't really sound that difficult of a creature, right? Well, it's the connection to Hastur that makes it very, very fraught with danger, because you have a percentage chance, anytime you speak Hastur's name, that he will appear. And like I said, I'm not going to get into all the specifics, but this is, think of this as Godzilla on steroids. Hastur is a giant saurian-type being that stands like somewhere between 400 and 600 feet tall, as described in Deities and Demigods. Now, as a long Lovecraft fan, yeah, I take issue with some of the stuff that's in here. I'm being kind. But at the same time, it is a very big, nasty god. And its servants, 20 feet tall is nothing to sneeze at. 10 hit dice, also nothing to sneeze at. Certainly are powerful servants that work on behalf of Hastur. Now, this being the servant of a god, though I did go and ask my dwarven brethren, there are some, especially things like mages and clerics, who had heard of these before, but none had ever seen one. And I certainly haven't either. However, in the gaming world, it's a little bit different. And I went out to the greater Hornhelm community and said, hey, you guys ever use the BYAKHEE from the Cthulhu mythos and Deities and Demigods? And there were some, not many, but there were some. Uh, Cthulhu as a series of gods, the Cthulhu mythos became less of an issue in Dungeons and Dragons once the game The Call of Cthulhu came out. But I still, even today, like using the Cthulhu gods. They're fun. Well, they make your players panic, and that's fun. So the BYAKHEE is something that when I asked the DMs about it, they said, well, yeah, but they only show up under specific circumstances. And though they have a fair amount of hit points, they really aren't that tough of an opponent. They don't really have much in the way of special tricks, except their ability to teleport on demand, which is nice, but it's not necessarily helpful in a lot of cases. So, okay, well, that's fine. So what did you rank them at? And the answers I got on that were like a 5 to a 6, which I actually thought was a little bit high, but okay. Now, the players I talked to had run into these before. I think their response was colored more by the fact that Haster was only one word away saying his name. And under those circumstances, I think they may have looked at it as being more powerful. They said a 6 to a 7. I don't agree with that, but if it brings in Haster, well, yeah, okay, then that's probably on the low side. But, I don't really think they're that powerful. They don't have any specific breath weapon. They don't have any specific magical weapons. Yes, they have intelligence, but it's average intelligence. And they're evil, and they're not small. It's not like you're going to hide them real easy. But, of course, they can teleport on demand. The only problem is it only works within the prime material plane. So, okay, I guess maybe a higher ranking, part of it maybe is me. Whatever. But at the end of the day, that's what they said, is 6 to a 7. So, okay, whatever you want. Now, the BYAKHEE is not something that you necessarily just throw willy-nilly into a dungeon. It is something that's cool in an adventure, but there has to be some reason for them to be there. Maybe it's an evil cleric who worships the one of the guys from the Cthulhu mythos, or Haster in particular, and they summon them. But it's not something you're going to run into very often. They should be extraordinarily rare. Interesting creature, though. So that, my friends, is the BYAKHEE. We hope you found today's presentation to be interesting, educational, amusing, all that kind of good stuff. If you did, please be so kind as to leave us a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't. Definitely share with your friends. Leave us a comment. But most of all, come back and see us again real soon. We thank you so very much for your kind support. Take care, everyone, and remember, dwarves rock!